It was the most anticipated election in the country since 1994.
This has been easily the most memorable elections of the democratic era in South Africa in 30 years.
It's been a chance for a reset.
We are at a crossroads in terms of our political landscape.
And an opportunity to express growing anger at the ruling party, the African National Congress, for its failure to deliver on promises for a better life for all.
I knew that there was a lot of frustrations on the ground, but I did not anticipate that it was this much.
Citizens were slow to register for the elections. A third didn't even bother, and of those, only 58% actually voted, which was significant, according to political writer 𝗃𝗃𝗿𝘆.
The effect of this, of course, is that around legitimacy. So the ANC not only went well below 50%, but it means that around 1 in 7 eligible voters voted for the ANC.
Over 4 days, the counts trickled in to the results centre in Midrand. When the figures came into final focus, they revealed a monumental shift.
What's needed is a new culture of politics where there's an acceptance that power has to be shared. The electorate has chosen this time not to give any one single party a majority.
The ANC crashed to 40% nationally. This means it lost 71 seats in the National Assembly. A handful of cabinet ministers were casualties in this landslide. Even before the elections, there were clear signs the ANC was going to take a beating. But as the numbers came out, they still seemed to come as a shock to senior leaders. None more so than the strong performance of former President Jacob Zuma's 𝗃𝗁𝗄𝐻 party in traditional ANC strongholds.
In a process of renewal and revitalization, you don't want to accept the reality that you lost in KZN free and fair to Jacob Zuma. You want to blame it on somebody. But the fact of the matter is that as we speak today, Jacob Zuma is a force to be reckoned.
Yet, the writing was on the wall, according to 𝗀𝗃𝗿𝗆, who runs a market research company. His data showed how everything changed in December last year with the arrival of the MK party onto the political stage.
We'd run a number of polls before MK was formed, and the ANC seemed sort of stuck between 45 and 50. But MK arrived on the scene, and we did a poll which put them at about 25% in KZN. And it fundamentally changed the nature of the political landscape. It exploded the ANC's vote in KZN and fractured it. And from that point on, KZN was hugely volatile. MK had a profound influence, and it fundamentally changed the landscape.
Gareth's company, Victory Research, tracked electoral sentiment almost in real time. It was a sprint finish in KwaZulu-Natal for the MK party.
It took about 3 weeks of the tracking poll for party supporters to start to decide where their loyalties lay. I mean, the party in the lead in KZN switched sides about 5 times, I think, before election day. MK would fight back. The DA was in lead for a short period, remarkably. The ANC then overtook MK, and right till the end, those parties were fighting till the death. It was only in about the last 10 days that MK started to pull away substantially from the ANC.
Not only bagging 58 seats in the National Assembly, MK decimated the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. It ate up the EFF and capped the IFP's growth. Zuma's party grabbed 37 out of 80 seats in the KZN legislature, in touching distance of an outright majority. Former President Jacob Zuma and his breakaway party left his former comrades in the dust. And to add insult to injury, Zuma alleged the elections were rigged.
I think MK is a reflection of its figurehead, its leader, Jacob Zuma. He thrives on chaos. He thrives on destabilizing institutions.
We approached the MK party for comment, but they have yet to respond. The party's bold approach is clear to see in their stream of social media posts. And during the campaign, party agents worked the field in KwaZulu-Natal, a province with a long history of political violence.
MK operates almost exclusively on the ground through networking. I imagine they would have got a lot of their strategies and tactics on the ground from the ANC, which involves going house to house, going to people's doors, communicating with communities and spreading things through word of mouth. But what they were saying and who they were talking to and how effective they were, I don't think we'll ever know.
Despite years working in KZN, MK's success amazed political reporter 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀.
I never expected the MK party to go to the hostel of Wamash in the north of Durban and win that hostel outright, with outright majority. The IFP has never lost that place, but the MK party went there and they won that one. The MK party went to 𝗃𝗃𝗃, an IFP stronghold for 30 years. They won that place. They went to Nongoma, they did the same. They went to Dumbe, they did the same. They went to Ulundi, 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, they did the same.
So how did Mr. Zuma and the MK do it?
Part of the strategy was to appease the guys that were pushed out as a result of ANC factional fight. He also appeased the traditional leaders. He also appeased the members of the Shembe Church. And he also appeased the poor. He spoke their language. He was drumming hope into them, telling them that once the MK party is in power right now, after the elections, everything will change.
Former President Zuma now has power to play with. And in an unexpected twist, he tried to halt the declaration of election results. He wanted a recount or even a rerun.
And I'm hoping whoever is responsible is hearing what we are saying. Don't start trouble when there is no trouble.
The IEC stood firm.
The Electoral Commission of South Africa declares the results of the 2024 national and provincial elections as free and fair.
In a further boost for democracy, the ANC accepted its devastating loss.
The elections have humbled us, they've brought us where we are, and therefore we've got to talk to everyone.
The former ruling party is now between a rock and a hard place. How to form a government, appease its allies, and save the economy. This is not just about party politics. This is not just about political manifestos. It's also about the personalities who have to manage this crisis, all while holding on to their positions. Suddenly, political opponents are contemplating coalition agreements that require an uncomfortable coziness. Early talks of an ANC-DA tie-up, which was punted by business and is no longer on the table, was unlikely to work in reality, says political columnist Justice Malala.
I think that the idea that we can have an ANC-DA coalition actually doesn't take cognizance of the fact that our history still remains very much with us. The fact that we went through apartheid, that we are still racially divided in large measure, that there are huge disparities in wealth and so forth between black and white. This places such a big issue in the ANC and ANC politics. I think that there's such a pushback about the idea of going with the DA.
Justice has been talking to jittery investors to explore South Africa's risk. There is concern that the country will experience violence, similar to the looting that happened in KZN in 2021.
I think this is a very dangerous moment for South Africa. I think that you have, on the one hand, a player like Jacob Zuma who's taken on this narrative that it's all corrupt, it's all about me. They were trying to stop me from the union buildings or wherever. He could try to undermine the system in various ways, but in the background you can hear the noise saying, we can cause havoc here. So I think that's the threat of violence. I think that there is a threat of a constitutional crisis if we don't find some way through these coalitions.
With this recent history, the people of KwaZulu-Natal are anxious to see what comes next.
MK party and the EFF in one government, that will be a deadly combination. Province will be broken in 3 or 4 months' time. Hence, they are saying in the province, you need to have a coalition of the DA, ANC, IFP, and NFP. The DA has a proven track record of holding people accountable.
Talks about talks kicked off as the results came in. The opposition parties are also grappling with the new reality.
Parties within the Moonshot Pact or the Multi-Party Charter now need to make a choice about whether they're going to join hands with the constitutionalists and freedom and democracy lovers, or they're going to sit it out and allow the doomsday forces who want to scrap the constitution, nationalize banks and expropriate without compensation, get into the driving seat.
The first sitting of South Africa's new parliament will happen here at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. MPs will be sworn in and vote in a president to form a new government. But already, the MK party is threatening to boycott.
Well, it's an interesting feature of the Constitution. It has this very tight timetable for electing the president, 14 days. But then the Constitution's silent as to how long the president has to appoint his or her cabinet. So you could have a situation where there's a deal to get the presidency sorted, and then there's a second phase of negotiations around who gets what in the cabinet.
After marathon party talks this week, the ANC emerged with a power-sharing roadmap.
We have therefore agreed that we will invite political parties to form a government of national unity as the best option to move our country forward.
The devil will be in the detail. The party that held power for 30 years has only 7 days to get opposition parties on board. The clock is ticking.